What if the secret to lasting peace had nothing to do with fixing the world and everything to do with mastering a single inner space? A tempest doesn't rage around you, it stirs within. Life will test you, without question. But your serenity isn't measured by avoiding the gale. It's defined by the stillness you cultivate inside of it. That flare of irritation, that surge of frustration, it isn't an attack from the outside. It's a flame you ignite yourself, often unconsciously. And once lit, it doesn't burn the world. It consumes you. Hostility rarely springs from others' actions. It's a construction of your own perception, a reaction you choose to what you think is happening, not to reality itself. That pointed comment, that dismissive look, that feeling of injustice, all pass through a filter that only you hold. When someone speaks with heat, it isn't their words alone that cause the disturbance. It's the meaning your own mind assigns to them. Your story, your past hurts, your unhealed wounds. These combine to strike the match. Many believe that managing others or altering circumstances is the key to calm. This is a fundamental error. The external world doesn't dictate your internal quiet. It merely offers moments that reveal the current state of your mind. To live untouched by anger, you must grasp this. The chaos is internal, not external. Every conflict is born in the mind long before it touches the world. A harsh tone might echo an old pain, poke at an unhealed memory, or threaten your self-image. It is this internal narrative, never the external event, that summons the heat. You might feel righteous blaming another, but the true work lies in your own interpretation. If you can see the trigger without being engulfed by it, you have already seized command. Your consciousness can magnify a tiny slight into a consuming blaze, but it also holds the power to let it dissipate into nothing, simply by choosing not to feed it. To witness without labeling, to see the rising reaction before it becomes action, this is the first step toward liberation. Anger thrives on a story of misunderstanding. When you assume harmful intent, the fire grows. But most people act from their own pain, their own fear, their own unfinished stories. Rarely is it truly about you. Realizing this creates a gap between event and your reply, a silent moment where understanding can enter. This pause is not passivity. It is profound power. A mind that pauses cannot be plunged into disorder. A heart that pauses cannot be dragged into rage. Each time you select observation over reaction, the hold external events have on your inner world weakens. Your emotional state mirrors your internal dialogue. When you tell yourself you've been wronged, that life is unjust, you fan the flames. Altering what others say or do will never put this fire out. Only changing how you see and interpret these moments can. This is the art of emotional sovereignty. When you nurture awareness, you start to see how often your mind amplifies, personalizes, and spins tales that were never meant to harm you. Awareness is both armor and emancipation. The practice of detachment isn't cold indifference. It means realizing your peace does not depend on anyone else. You can feel without being flooded, notice without reacting, be present without losing your center. Each time you witness a provocation without judgment, you train your mind to reply from choice, not from habit. The world will always supply reasons for upset, but you possess the capacity to rise above them. Your perception crafts your reality far more than any outer condition. By steering perception, you control the very seed from which discontent grows, stopping it from ever taking root. Most people live as if they are victims of their thoughts. They believe every feeling, every impulse, is a truth to be obeyed. But the mind is not your master. It is your instrument. It can generate turmoil, fear, and rage as easily as it can generate tranquility, clarity, and fortitude. The difference is whether you let your thoughts steer you, or whether you step back and simply watch them. When you begin to observe your mind, something shifts. You see that thoughts are not commands. They are passing weather, impressions that form and fade, tales your awareness tells itself. None have any power to define you unless you grant it. To observe your thoughts is to reclaim authority over your inner universe. To take the first real step toward freedom from agitation and anger. Observation demands patience. It's a practice, not a one-time fix. When a hot thought emerges, instead of lashing out immediately, stop. Notice it. Feel its texture. See where it comes from. Is it tied to insecurity, to ego, to old wounds? The instant you create this distance, the thought's force begins to fade. It no longer dictates your behavior. You can choose to engage with it or to let it drift on by. So many of life's regrets are born from reacting before comprehending. Observation is the antidote to raw, impulsive emotion. It is the act of stating, I see this. I am here. I am not controlled by it. Thoughts are like clouds moving across a vast sky. Some are light, some are dark and heavy. But the sky itself doesn't panic at the presence of a storm cloud. It holds space, vast and undisturbed beneath the weather. Your mind can learn to be the same. Observe the clouds of irritation, of criticism, of anxiety, without being carried off by them. Every time you observe without reacting, the habit of being controlled weakens. Your mind learns it can generate sensations without forcing the body to act. You are cultivating a silent, inner resilience, a force that lets you remain steady, undisturbed, and strong, even when everything around you seems designed to provoke a response. Observation also brings piercing clarity. Often, we are unsettled not by the event, but by the lens through which we view it. A thought of outrage might feel justified, but when observed, you may see it's rooted in assumption, in partial information, in stories you've repeated for years. By observing without judgment, you separate fact from fiction. The universe isn't inherently antagonistic. Your mind has categorized it that way. Awareness lets you recalibrate this perspective. It lets you answer with wisdom, not impulse, with calm, not fury. Practicing observation doesn't mean suppressing emotion. Suppression leads to eventual eruption. Observation is feeling fully, but not being ruled by the feeling. You sense the anger, but you don't act from it. You note the annoyance, but you don't let it dictate your conduct. You watch the judgment appear, but you don't allow it to obscure your vision. This practice transforms your relationship with yourself. Your thoughts are no longer tyrants. They are signals, messages to be understood, not orders to be blindly followed. Over time, observing becomes second nature. Your mind becomes a garden you tend with conscious care. You pluck the weeds of resentment and negativity, allowing peace and clarity to blossom in their place. There is an unrecognized strength in quiet. Most rush to speak, to defend, to explain, to counter, believing action and words are the only paths to influence. Yet, genuine power often resides in the absence of any reaction. When someone aims to provoke you, when the world offers insult or challenge, the first instinct is to retaliate. The mind urges, the pulse quickens, and an inner voice demands correction or payback. But every reaction, however justified, feeds energy to the disturbance. Every word spoken in heat plants a seed in your own spirit, growing further disquiet. Choosing quiet isn't weakness. It is the conscious refusal to trade your inner stability for outer chaos. Non-reaction is the skill of divorcing your inner condition from external events. You can observe insults, chaos, or judgment without being pulled into their current. There is intelligence in composure, strategy in restraint, a potency that loud arguments can never match. Silence makes a statement not of defeat, but of supreme autonomy. It declares that no one holds power over your mind unless you allow it. It is an invisible shield, guarding your energy and preserving clarity. Those who master non-reaction understand the world's disturbances are temporary, often meaningless. But the peace of a disciplined mind is permanent and priceless. When you decline to react, something deep occurs inside. The world may continue to poke, but your internal condition stays unshaken. Anger finds no fuel. Frustration evaporates. The mind settles into witness mode. Others may not grasp why you don't respond, why you stay composed when provoked. And that is precisely the point. Non-reaction is a form of self-control that circumstances cannot strip away. When someone expects a reply and receives none, their imagined power over you dissolves. Your calm becomes their mirror. Their aggression meets a still pond, reflecting only their own turmoil, while your peace remains untouched. Quiet also carves out room for insight. When the mind is still, decisions are sharper, understanding arises naturally. Speaking in haste often leads to regret, words that worsen situations, energy wasted that could have been conserved. Watching, reflecting, and withholding your response cultivates deep patience. It lets you understand not just others' motives, but the inner workings of your own mind. Non-reaction teaches sharp discernment. It lets you choose when engagement is useful and when it's wiser to stay motionless. Every moment of quiet in the face of provocation fortifies your mental and emotional armor. The practice of non-reaction transforms every interaction. When people see their attempts to provoke yield no result, they eventually cease. Your silence communicates more than words ever could. It communicates command, composure, and unshakable confidence. You stop being a player in every petty conflict. Instead, you become an overseer, a master of your own state. Energy once lost in arguments is redirected toward clarity, creativity, and inner expansion. Over time, silence becomes your instinct. You no longer reply on impulse. You respond with thought, with selectivity, with precision. You become the person who is unmovable in storms, grounded amid chaos, untouched by needless friction. Silence and non-reaction are also acts of profound self-respect. To react is to donate your energy to someone else's drama. To remain silent is to honor your own peace and protect your own mental domain. Every refusal to engage in pointless conflict reinforces your sovereignty. It is the quiet strength that forges character, builds resilience, and cultivates a life free from unnecessary anger and disturbance. Your calm is the ultimate reply to chaos. Those who master this know a deeper truth. The world's attempts to provoke are fleeting, but the power of a composed mind is eternal. Expectations are invisible shackles that chain the mind to disappointment. We move through life assuming people will act a certain way, that events will follow our plan, that the world owes us fairness. The moment we set these expectations, we set the stage for letdown. When reality inevitably diverges from our mental blueprint, irritation surges, anger sparks, and the mind becomes a war zone. Most of life's disturbances come not from outside, but from the tension between what we expect and what is. To live free from anger, you must learn the art of releasing expectations, of viewing the world as it is, not as you demand it to be. Letting go of expectations isn't surrendering ambition. It means fostering a mental flexibility that separates hope from rigid attachment. You can strive, plan, and act without insisting that others or the universe conform to your personal script. When expectations vanish, you cease being a prisoner of outcomes. You stop measuring your happiness against others' behavior. You learn to meet life with acceptance, not resistance, with understanding, not condemnation. The moment you release the pressure of should and must, the mind lightens, liberates, and calms. Expectations also warp perception. When we assume someone will act a certain way, any deviation feels like a personal slight, a changed plan, a delayed promise. Each can trigger irritation if the mind clings to its demand. But the world doesn't exist to meet your assumptions. People act from their own history, priorities, and limits. By dropping expectation, you stop projecting your requirements onto others, and you stop feeding the fire that ignites when reality doesn't match your imagination. This release is an act of wisdom, a choice to shield your inner peace rather than surrender it to the uncontrollable. Detaching from expectation also builds resilience. Life is unpredictable. Those clinging to rigid plans find themselves perpetually off balance. But with a mind free of expectation, you become adaptable. You meet circumstances as they are, without resistance, without disappointment. The flexibility born from letting go lets you navigate with calm precision. You no longer react to every unmet hope. You meet each moment with awareness, patience, and a steady core. And in that steadiness, the world loses its power to disturb you. Freedom begins when you drop the script you wrote for others. The practice requires self-honesty. Notice where you demand certain behaviors, where you tie your peace to specific outcomes. Watch these patterns gently and remind yourself that freedom lies in release. Each time you do, you reclaim energy spent on frustration. Each time you let go of a personal demand, your mind becomes a sanctuary, not a battleground. Your emotions are no longer hostages to the unpredictable actions of others. You start to understand. The world operates by its own rules, and your serenity isn't dependent on bending them to yours. By letting go of expectations, you also make space for gratitude. You see things as they are, appreciate efforts without comparing them to fantasy, and find calm even in imperfection. Life no longer provokes anger simply because it isn't exactly as you pictured. Your mind becomes a place of observation, not judgment, a space where you can respond thoughtfully instead of reacting blindly. With this release, you start living in harmony with reality, not fighting it. And the irritation that once seemed inevitable slowly fades to silence. The mind is a plot of land. What you plant, tend, and water will grow and shape your inner landscape. If you let weeds of anger, impatience, and blame run wild, your thoughts will become tangled, your emotions restless, your life heavy with conflict. But if you consciously cultivate patience, empathy, and calm, these qualities will take root and transform your mind into a refuge. Patience isn't passive waiting. It's the active choice to endure without irritation, to face difficulty without handing your power to frustration. It lets you navigate challenges without being consumed by reactive feelings. Understanding is the soil where patience grows. By seeking to comprehend before you condemn, by recognizing others' perspectives and fears, you nurture compassion and stop anger from sprouting. Inner calm is the sunlight sustaining both. It illuminates the mind, softens the edges of annoyance, and lets you see without distortion. Cultivating these traits isn't instant. It needs consistent attention. Every interaction is a chance to tend your inner garden. When someone tests your patience, don't snap. Observe. Breathe. Let empathy guide your reply. Every time you respond from awareness, not impulse, you water the seeds of calm within. The mind, like soil, absorbs your focus. Focus on blame, and anger spreads. Focus on patience and empathy, and serenity flourishes. With practice, remaining composed in turbulence becomes instinctive, like a well-tended plant reaching for the sun. Understanding is especially crucial in preventing emotional storms. When someone acts in a provoking way, it's usually from their own limitations, fear, or confusion. They operate from a place of lack, not malice. Seeing this lets you reply with compassion, not bitterness. Each time you seek to understand instead of reacting, you build resilience, strengthen your calm, and prevent your mind from being hijacked. Understanding is the bridge between what happens and your inner peace. Without it, patience is fragile and calm is shallow. With it, your mind becomes unassailable. Inner calm is cultivated through practice and presence. Moments of reflection, or even conscious breaths, act as irrigation. They let the qualities you nurture sink deep roots to weather external storms. Calmness isn't passivity. It is lucidity and command. When the mind is calm, you don't react to every stimulus. You respond with intention. Anger loses its grip because calmness creates a buffer, a sacred space where thought can intervene before impulse takes over. The more you cultivate this inner stillness, the less the world can shake you. You begin to experience life from clarity, not agitation, from understanding, not judgment. Cultivating patience, empathy, and calm is also an act of self-respect. By tending your inner garden, you honor your own mind, safeguard your energy, and stop unnecessary conflicts from taking root. You create a mental environment where growth is possible and negativity cannot dominate. In time, this cultivation becomes your nature. Patience emerges without effort. Understanding is intuitive. Calmness is your baseline. Your mind becomes a sanctuary, impervious to the petty disturbances that once held sway. Life stays unpredictable, but your inner world is a steady harbor where storms cannot reach. A space where freedom from anger is the natural, default state. Authentic power isn't about influencing others, demanding obedience, or controlling situations. That's a superficial strength, always vulnerable to change. Real power is born within. It's the mastery of your own mind, emotions, reactions, and choices. When you master yourself, you become untouchable. No insult, no provocation, no surprise can disrupt the stillness of your heart. While others chase power over people and circumstances, those cultivating inner mastery experience a freedom and resilience that cannot be stolen. The ability to remain undisturbed, to reply thoughtfully, to hold peace amidst chaos. This is true strength. Mastery starts with awareness. You must first watch yourself honestly. Notice your triggers, your reactive patterns, your leanings toward frustration. Understand that no one can make you feel anything without your permission. Every emotion is a response, a choice, a reflection of your inner state. When you own this truth, you reclaim authority over your mind. You learn that controlling others is a mirage. Even if you briefly influence behavior, it grants no lasting peace. Controlling yourself, however, creates permanence. When your thoughts, feelings, and actions align, you become a force no circumstance can destabilize. Mastery is also restraint. The world offers endless provocations. The truly powerful don't donate their energy to every challenge. They choose where to focus, when to act, when to stay silent. By restraining reactive impulses, you conserve energy and preserve lucidity. You no longer scatter your power in arguments or attempt to manipulate outcomes. Instead, you channel it inward, building resilience, wisdom, and a calm that radiates outward. People might mistake silence for passivity, but it is a deliberate exercise of power. The mind that holds steady against insult is stronger than any army. Self-mastery requires detaching from the need to control results. Life is full of variables beyond your influence. Insisting on shaping every event binds you to frustration. Accepting what is and focusing on your own state makes you adaptable, resilient, and free. Mastery is navigating uncertainty without losing poise, acting with purpose, not compulsion, keeping integrity regardless of the situation. The outer world may be chaotic, but your inner landscape stays calm, intentional, and strong. Another layer of mastery is emotional intelligence. To master yourself is to understand your emotions deeply, to see their source, and to choose your response. Anger and fear become signals for awareness, not automatic reactions. Through this understanding, you transform potentially destructive energy into clarity and constructive action. Mastery lets you act from purpose, not ego. You become the author of your experience, not a side character in someone else's story. Finally, true power through self-mastery manifests as ultimate freedom. You are no longer bound by others' opinions or actions. You are undisturbed by insults, unaffected by provocation, unshaken by challenges. You carry a quiet assurance, a strength needing no validation, a peace that cannot be threatened. Those seeking control over others may win temporary gains, but only the person who masters themselves knows lasting liberty. This is the ultimate sovereignty, the ability to move through life with calm, clarity, and unshakable power. No matter the storms outside, a state where the mind is free, the heart is steady, and the spirit remains untouched by the world's chaos. In the end, the path to never being angry or bothered isn't found in fixing the world, changing people, or chasing perfection. It's found within. It's found in watching your thoughts without obeying them, in choosing quiet over retaliation, in releasing the expectations that bind you, in cultivating patience, empathy, and inner calm like a sacred garden. True strength emerges when you master yourself, when your peace is independent of circumstance, and your mind becomes an untouchable sanctuary. Life will always test, provoke, and surprise. But when your foundation is solid, no gale can move you. Freedom, serenity, and unshakable power aren't given. They are claimed by those who turn inward, face themselves with honesty, and cultivate mastery over their own consciousness. This is the final lesson. The world may be turbulent, but your inner world can remain steadfast, calm, and free. And it is here, in this quiet mastery, that genuine strength and enduring peace make their home. If this resonated, please like this video. It truly supports the channel Winds of Thought. The journey inward continues.